Sonia Summers is a detective who has had contact with three humanoid monsters called Bame, Bella, and Bello who attempt to mix with the humans and are difficult to spot as they aspire to be human themselves someday. Sonia Summers' report on humanoid monsters reveals important info about these fascinating creatures. Bame appears to be an adult male but is actually a large monster who can control electric shocks. Bella appears to be a young woman who becomes a cold-controlling, medium-sized humanoid monster. Bello is a young man who can turn into a small-sized humanoid monster with the powers of controlling fire and flames. Dr. Recycle is the big bad wolf who creates modified humans that threaten public safety. Bame, Bella, and Bello work together to fight off these bad guys. The three saviors of mankind also have another enemy named Vega, who is also a humanoid monster under the Unseen Council's supervision. Sonia Summers has been investigating the disappearance of the three humanoids and their arch-nemesis Dr. Recycle. Even though others have discouraged her as everyone believes that they are gone now, Sonia is adamant about finding a lead. And it looks like she is close because she has set her eyes on Duraco Chemicals, where she suspects she can get a clue of the humanoids' whereabouts. Situated on an island of its own, Duraco Chemicals is a risky business, even for Sonia, as her chances of making it alive out of there are slim to none. Nevertheless, she wants to get the job done and drives there on her motorcycle. She has been warned about Duraco, who is a dangerous man himself. But Sonia believes that as long as this mission is kept a secret, she's good to go. The humanoids are natural variations of the human DNA who fight for justice and protect mankind. Yet, they can't fully be humans and remain to be some sort of in-between creatures. Matthew enthusiastically wakes his father up for breakfast. Belm walks with his son Matthew to the dining room where his wife has laid out a sweet breakfast spread for the happy family. Belm's wife gives him some pills before he begins to eat. Their daughter Amelia also joins them at the table for some cereal. As Belm's wife Emma walks him to the door to see him off for work, Burgess and Dana greet the couple. Belm and Burgess both work at Duraco Chemicals, which is located on the island they live on. On their way to work, Belm has a pleasant time with all his acquaintances in this familiar town as he gets his daily newspaper, coffee, and baked goods. Duraco's voice narrating the vision of his company blares from screens in the background as Belm signs in at work. One of his colleagues, Chief Manstall, appears to be cranky this morning as he nags at his coworkers to focus on their work instead of sitting idle. Burgess discusses the pills they are all supposed to take every morning that the company supplies them with. He confirms from Belm if he took his pills, and gets an affirmative response. This morning chatter is brought to a halt when Duraco enters the room with his assistant and everyone stands in respect. Duraco takes a quick scan around the public relations department. His assistant announces that he wishes to have a sit-down with Belm. When Belm steps up, Duraco walks up to him and compliments all the contributions Belm has made to the firm, and how those efforts have made a huge difference in the world. He expresses how impressed he is with Belm and thanks him for his hard work. When he leaves, Burgess teases Belm about a promotion coming his way while Belm quietly looks at the writing Duraco left behind and compliments him for it. Belm gets a call, and the distortion on the other side alarms him. Duraco is in a meeting with all the directors of Duraco Chemicals to anticipate the state of their corporation. They show him a video of BEM cells which they have successfully developed with their tissue engineering technology. They have surpassed stage 2 and are close to the finish line. Duraco is elated when he hears of their progress. Meanwhile, Belm looks up some statistics on his computer in his office which put him in deep thought. Belm returns home to his family who welcome him with love and warmth. He shares the highlight of this day with Emma about him being applauded for a copy he wrote. However, he expresses his concern as well because he has no memory of writing that copy at all. His wife comforts him by suggesting that the writing is his because it has his signature and he should enjoy his achievement instead of overthinking. She hugs him and tells him that there is nothing wrong and he's just tired. Belm is still not completely sold, so she gives him 2 pills to soothe his mind. Sonia Summers is spying on a shady transaction in the middle of the night. She records a delivery truck and a man who pulls up at the site. The man gets a box full of test tubes. She is about to learn more when she feels the nozzle of a gun poking at the behind of her head. She is caught and taken to Duraco's man who was getting his supply. Sonia asks him about the drugs and he punches her in the gut. He orders her to be eliminated when the man holding her is suddenly set on fire. Sonia turns around to see Bello standing there and makes a run for it. Bello quietly walks to the men, dodging their bullets, and knocks them all down. Then, he blows up the delivery truck loaded with drugs and disappears. Sonia steps out from hiding to follow him when one of Duraco's injured men turns into a humanoid monster that suspiciously looks like Bame. She shoots him but to no avail and is about to eat her alive when Bello resurfaces. He burns the monster's tongue and finishes him off with a lethal punch that melts him into a puddle. Bello picks up the watch he was wearing from the ground and hands back Sonia's badge to her. Sonia suggests that all this must be Dr. Recycle's doing, who is working in cahoots with Draco and has succeeded in modifying humans into humanoid monsters. Bello shows no interest in her theories, but has been working against Draco without Bame and Bella. He offers to show Sonia what Draco has been up to. As Sonia walks toward his company's building, she passes by all the townspeople who had greeted Belm earlier. They are all rooted in the same spot they were in the morning, standing by and staring into space with empty eyes as if they are robots being charged. Sonia notices Bame with a guy walking toward the building chatting about something. She calls out his name, which stops Burgess in his tracks. He doesn't turn around, but Belm does. Sonia runs to him and tells him about how much she missed him. She touches his arm, but he looks at her totally clueless and asks who she is. Sonia is surprised at the fact that he doesn't recognize her since they used to work together. Burgess steps in between them and corrects her by saying that he is Belm Iceberg, not Bame. He introduces himself as Belm's neighbor, partner at work, and best friend. Sonia is still in disbelief because Belm's eyes, face, and voice are all exactly like Bame's. Sonia shows her badge to Belm and starts talking about 2 years ago when Burgess cuts her off and tries to send her away. She ignores him and tries to apologize to Bame for 2 years ago. Unfortunately, he still doesn't recognize her and tells her that she is mistaking him for someone else. Belm and Burgess walk away from Sonia while she stands there in denial. Belm gets back to his home where the way his 2 kids greet him is almost identical to how they did last night. Burgess has walked home with him and looks concerned. So does Emma when Belm mentions his interaction with the strange detective who called him Bame earlier. Burgess reassures Belm and leaves his house, unaware that Sonia has followed them to the house and has been hiding outside, listening in on their conversation. Burgess worries about the problem that has just appeared out of nowhere and dials up his phone to call someone. Sonia sits on a park bench staring out into the sky, still trying to process everything that she just saw. Bello startles her as he talks from a spot behind her. Sonia asks him if the man she saw really was Bame. Bello responds that he is indeed Bame because his scent has remained the same. However, he has no idea about how or why he has changed or if he even had a family. He hasn't spoken to Bame because he's not allowed to go there and he doesn't want to try to reach out either since this is the choice Bame made for himself. Bello fights alone now. Later that night, Sonia walking on the streets when she gets a feeling that she is being followed. The hand of a young woman emerges from a dark alleyway Sonia is passing by and kidnaps her. Bella takes Sonia to the diner she works at called Uganda. She tells him about her normal life that she is somewhat satisfied with. She knows about Bella working alone too and asks Sonia if she met Bame. Bella already knows about Bame changing his name. She seems fine with the 3 of them leading separate lives because Bame wanted to live like a human as well. Sonia asks if Bella actually made an effort to confirm that he made that choice because she is already skeptical of the fact that he has fairly grown children even when the humanoids team split up a few years ago. Bella admits that she has been afraid to dig deeper. Bame is in his bathroom and has the shower running. Before hopping in, he takes his shirt off and notices a bruise on the spot on her arm where Sonia put her hand earlier. When he touches it, visions from his past life hit his mind and he begins to sweat and gasp for air. Meanwhile, Sonia and Bella continue catching up. Bella tells Sonia that she and her teammates set out on their own paths when they left Libra City, but all 3 of them somehow ended up in the same city where Bello is still fighting and Bame has a family. She feels content with her life because this is as close as she will feel to being a human. Sonia gives Bella an update about her old high school friends as well, which strikes up some emotion in her that she successfully masks behind a smile. Sonia advises Bella to join Bello, but Bella is focused on living the life of a regular human girl. That night, Bame dreams of lying on a table in a lab with masked scientists drawing his blood and looking at his cells in his sleep. His nightmare shows him visions of experiments being conducted on him and him being in a different form, the form of a beast or monster to be exact. When he pulls his hand out from under the sheets, it is the hand of a monster, due to which he lets out a loud scream. Emma wakes up and clings to him, comforting him. When he catches his breath and looks back at his hand, it is the same as it has always been, a normal human hand. Emma hands him 2 more pills to swallow to help him sleep peacefully. Their house phone rings, but Emma distracts him and doesn't let him pick up. On the other hand, Bello breaks into one of Draco's labs to get a better look at the drugs when one of the security guards towers over him, turning into Bame's monster form. Bello hands the sample he stole from the lab to Sonia and confirms her suspicion by informing her that the chemical is a monster serum and the lab had a monster incubator filled with a lot of humanoids Draco was developing. He tells Sonia to leave Bella out of this mess and leaves. The next morning, Belm goes through the same routine with his family. Only this time, his head hurts from the night before and Emma gives him 4 pills instead of his usual 2 because she is worried about the state he is in. What she doesn't know, however, is that Belm faked ingesting all of them. In fact, he only swallowed one and flushed the others. He gets another vision. When he steps out for work with Burgess, the townspeople greet him exactly like always. When one of them talks about how fine the day is, Belm notices the sky above him and how dark it is, which unsettles him even more. As he doesn't reply to the townspeople like he usually did, Burgess hands him his coffee and tries to console him. He also inquires if Belm has been taking his medication lately. Belm lies and says yes. Belm also has to visit the doctor's office, where the company's doctor prescribes him the same pills and increases his dosage. The doctor urges him to take the dose in front of him, but Belm manages to fool him and flushes those pills again. He begins to make sense of what has been going on but continues to pretend to be his usual self to not raise suspicion. When he gets back to his work desk, he gets a call like every day, but this time he faints immediately after he hangs up the phone. All his co-workers stand up, put him on a stretcher, and roll him to Dr. Recycle's lab to begin experimenting on him. His co-workers update Dr. Recycle about his state when he wakes up and grabs one of them by the collar in fury. Turns out that he has been faking to be out of it and heard that he is a humanoid from when they were talking about him earlier. Burgess gets there with a coup of armed men and makes Belm let go of his co-worker. Belm is extremely confused at this point. He looks at a monster and asks if they modified him and turned him into one. This is all very amusing to the twisted Dr. Recycle, who is connecting the dots as Belm speaks. Burgess continues to attempt to fool him in a condescending and malicious manner, which makes Belm even angrier. Duraco's assistant informs him of the situation, which shocks him. Meanwhile, Belm tries to escape from the lab and is screaming for help. Dr. Recycle tells Burgess to shoot Belm as it won't eliminate him, but would give them an opportunity to gain control and overwrite his memories. Burgess follows through and his men open fire on Belm, causing numerous bullets to infiltrate his body as one of the scientists screams in horror at the disturbing sight. Belm doesn't pass away and begins to turn into his humanoid monster form. He runs away from the lab, but Burgess isn't worried as he already knows where Belm is headed to. Dr. Recycle talks to Duraco about the humanoid sense of self and how it is a problem for them. Duraco responds that his only motive is to make money, and these products with no sense of self would be even more profitable for him. Belm gets to an abandoned castle which is in ruins in a desolate location and goes inside. He looks around and gets the memory of how he was born here. He realizes that he isn't human and remembers Bella and Bello, along with Belm. He is now able to identify Sonia as well. Sonia shows up at Belm's doorstep to meet his wife. Burgess catches up to Belm and talks about he has good memories at this place too, where he used to work as the Count's assistant. Burgess shamelessly admits that the pills were given to suppress his memories. Burgess goes on about how Belm is the golden goose for Duraco, as he is an important resource in creating the modified soldiers Duraco produces and supplies. He asks Belm to give up and go back with him while more armed men surround the property. Emma serves tea to Sonia and denies ever going to Libra City or her husband being Belm. On Sonia's persistent questions, Emma tells her that she and Belm met when they were traveling and moved to this city when they got married. She goes along with her story and gives Sonia more details when Matthew comes and says his usual dialogue, which rings a bell in Sonia's mind. She starts to figure it out and tells Emma to introduce her to Matthew. Emma is uneasy at this point and gets in the way of Sonia walking up to Matthew. She asks Sonia about Belm, but Sonia apparently has no answers for her. Belm responds to Burgess' manipulation in the most hostile way as he blasts Burgess and his men with his powers. He meets Sonia, who is sitting on the same park bench. They catch up and are finally on the same page. Sonia apologizes to him properly for what happened in the past. Belm shows indifference and talks about the fake reality he has been living in. But he doesn't want to leave just yet, not until he stops the forces who have been exploiting him and misusing his powers. Sonia volunteers to join him in his fight against evil. She also goes to Bella for help but doesn't get much as Bella is adamant about being her make-believe human self. Sonia calls her associate to catch him up on the situation and he condemns her reckless courage. But Sonia is persistent about making it up to the humanoids for the misconduct they have been put through by humans. Therefore, she ignores her colleague's warnings and hangs up after giving him the necessary info. Bella finds herself unable to focus at work and indulged in the thoughts Sonia has left behind. Her humanoid instincts kick in and she senses some humanoids running across town from a distance. They throw shots at Bello and circle around him. It is harder to defeat them this time because they have developed new abilities. Dr. Recycle is having the time of his life as now he can get his filthy hands on one more humanoid monster and keep him in his captivity to experiment on him. Duraco's assistant is leaving Belm's house after handing the pills to Emma to give him. Emma begins to question the intentions of Duraco with this experiment as she was kept in the dark about the true nature of this project and she doesn't know who Belm was. It is clear that she cares deeply about him. Because of this, Duraco's assistant tells her that she is going to be fired because she has developed feelings for him and that she isn't fit for the job anymore. Bello sets all the humanoid henchmen ablaze and lies down in exhaustion as it was actually challenging for him. This is when he sees Bella standing over him. Bame comes home to his wife and starts interrogating her. Emma falls to the ground in terror when Bame reveals her true monster form to her. Sonia goes to Duraco's building where Burgess sedates her. At Bame's insistence, Emma agrees to tell him the truth about everything. Their house phone rings but they don't pick up. The wedding ring on Emma's finger glistens, twists her neck, and turns her into a monster. As she pounds on him and begins to eat into his flesh, Bame sees the desperation in her eyes, which is a remnant of her human side. He puts her to rest by electrocuting her. She confesses her love for him in her last words. Their kids get home and act like nothing has happened. The phone rings again and Bame picks up this time to discover that they were being watched and that Emma was created from cells harvested from him only. The person on the other side of the phone is none other than Chief Manstall. Bame sees the children standing before him as they turn into monsters while Chief adds that they have his pseudo-abilities as well. Bame butchers them, changes into his old self, and gets out on the streets. All the people he used to meet on the streets turn into monsters and get eliminated by him one by one. Sonia wakes up tied up and locked in a cell where Dr. Recycle and Burgess are present. She also finds out that Manstall is the real brains behind this operation. The monsters become too much to handle for Bame and he heads to Duraco's building, leering them with him. Manstall decides that Bame isn't that useful of a product, unlike the humanoids he would create who wouldn't have a conscience. All the monsters gang up on Bame, but he eliminates them through a huge surge of electric charge. As they all vaporize, he notices their belongings lying on the ground. He gets to the top of the building where he eliminates Burgess as soon as he sees him. But Burgess resuscitates, thanks to Bame's cells of course. He tells her that he put a ring on Sonia as well like Emma and they'd go back to their experiments soon. Then, he uses his watch to turn into another humanoid monster and charges at Bame. Bame eliminates him brutally too, but he is exhausted at this point. Bame destroys the facility where the monsters were incubated. He makes his what Manstall, who is in fact, the Count. Bame demands to know where Sonia is. Count tells him that Bame was created on its own. What he aspired to create was what the people in Libra City called Vega. The Count had tried to create her after losing his wife to illness. Bame suddenly remembers that he had been seeing Count in his dreams all along. Dr. Recycle is about to forcefully modify Sonia when she distracts him and attempts to break free. Count puts a blonde-haired monster wearing the ring in front of Bame who appears to be Sonia. He eliminates her with a heavy heart and is now enraged with Count. The Count unleashed the Vega humanoid monster on Bame while Duraco and his assistant join to enjoy the show. Duraco's assistant suddenly beheads him and joins Count. Bame is struggling to defeat Vega so Bello assists him. Sonia also arrives there which gives hope to Bame. Duraco's assistant is about to hurt Sonia when Bella jumps in to save her. The Count is unbothered and is about to turn Sonia when Bame breaks her ring. Bello, Bella, and the assistant all turn into monsters and fight. With Sonia by his side, Bame faces Count. The Count turns into a deadly monster and the top floor of the building collapses. Bame protects Sonia from the fall and all the monsters fight each other while Sonia's associate gets there in a helicopter. Bello beats Vega, Bella beats Gerda, and Sonia is running toward a beatdown Bame when Count pierces her heart and eliminates her. Her loss turns Bame into his ultimate form and he obliterates the Count and the whole planet in one manic attack. Sonia draws her last breaths in Bame's embrace as he cries tears of blood. Sonia opens her eyes to see that her team is about to rescue her. Unable to find Bame, Bello, and Bella tell her that Bame fulfilled his wish of being human by giving her his heart. They all fall back into their desired lives as Bame lives on in an indestructible Sonia.